Alright, so with the release of the Renegades Dungeon trailer last week, I think that we now have enough information to guess what the Barant Imperium's plan is. If you haven't seen the trailer, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, I'll play it for you real quick.
Six. Everything you've shown me, I've made real. I've marshaled a new Imperium to snuff out the light. My violence is yours. You know what comes next. Give me strength. Take everything I have.
Alright, so the implications from this are massive. Six seems to be working against us and the other members of the Nine, considering how, it's collaborating with someone who wants to kill us. I also think that this does maybe confirm that Six is the Lord of Every Nothing, with how, again, Six is working against us, and that Bale says at the end to take everything I have. I don't really see why Bale would say that if he didn't really, want to be taken. Six is also the member of the Nine tied to Saturn, and if you know what's in Saturn's orbit, it's the Dreadnought. It's in it's in the rings. Six's lore card is also, the one in epochs and orbits. It was also talking about the Dreadnought and, seemed rather hostile towards the reader. Plus, there's also, the Taken lightsaber signaling a further connection to the Taken, it's in the trailer. During the Nine meeting, also in the Edge of Fate campaign, when they were voting on whether or not to make the Guardian their weapon and Lodi the new emissary, Six stated complete, abject, insulted refusal. It's pretty obvious that Six hates us. I am slightly hesitant, however, to say for sure that Six is the Lord of Every Nothing, since during the meeting, one says that the Nine are at war. One is one tied to the sun, by the way. And since the Lord of Every Nothing was introduced in the preceding season, heresy, obviously, and one doesn't seem to suspect Six in the slightest, I'm just saying, obviously Six could be concealing it, but I do find it hard to believe when they can, see the entirety of time at once, since, the Nine are fourth dimensional beings. If Six is the Lord of Every Nothing, though, it cannot be understated just how massive that is. If Six is paracausal, if it no longer requires the life of the universe and on Saturn and stuff like that to sustain it, this is by far the largest threat we have ever faced. It's like the Witness, but we can't even kill it because it's the fourth dimensional being. We can't go into the fourth dimension and kill it. You took Maya Sundaresh, the power of the entire power of an Echo, just to kill three, and we don't have that. The Traveler is, it's kind of just incapacitated things like the Witness and all that stuff. So I'm just saying we're kind of just on our own with this. There is, and because of that, there is nothing to stop it from wiping us out. But that's enough about the Lord of Every Nothing. If you want to see more about that, I do have a video speculating about who I think the Lord of Every Nothing is. It's the link for it is in the description if you want to check it out. I would appreciate it if you did, though. Also, if you don't think the Lord of Everything will be involved in the campaign in some way, or at least in Renegades in general, the Sarlacc pit they showed has taken corruption. Now, obviously, no, that isn't like 100% confirmation, but I'm just saying, to me, that just seems like a very, very random detail that I'm just saying, if they just put in there for like, they would not, I don't think that they would put that in there for no reason, okay? They would not put that in there for no reason. Now, how does this tie into the Barant Imperium, because obviously they're the subject of this video? Well, firstly, we should list what we know about them. Thanks to the Imperial Incubator lore tab, we know that they don't like the Cabal Ascendancy, Keitel, and that they are building a weapon on their Nightfall station. This weapon is called the Cosmic Incubator. And since Bale is stated in that trailer as having sort of made the Imperium or had at least a pretty big part in it, and he states that he wants to snuff out the light, we can assume that the Imperium's like motivation and overall end goal is somewhat similar. Visually, the Imperium uses all white armor, and since Star Wars expansion, stormtroopers white armor, but yeah. In the concept art of the Vidoc as well, though, it does look rather Braytech-esque, you know, and especially with what, who I assume is the leader, like the Cabal leader of the Imperium, what he looks like. There's a bunch of tubes all over his armor, just like the Deepstone Crypt armor set. There's also several symbols on his left pauldron that, again, do seem to resemble the Braytech aesthetic. This does lead me to the conclusion that they may be working with, in some way, in some capacity, Clovis Bray. Clovis also hates the Traveler, so that would line up with why he would be working with them. Plus, Banshee's voice actor was also recently changed in, I think it was the Ash and Iron update. I think it was with Ash and Iron. So that could mean that he has story significance in the near future. He's also the actual version of Clovis, if you forgot that. For the Imperium, there is also one last detail that I want to mention. The only other Cabal with all white armor we have ever seen before is Dominus Gall back in the Red War. And do we remember what happened to him at the end of it? That's right. He successfully stole the light, became a being of pure light, and was then vaporized by the Traveler's awakening. Revenge against the Traveler and the Guardians for this could be the Imperium's motivation. It also explains why they wouldn't like Keitel, since she is allied with the ones who killed Gall. And so, with that, we now have the main motivations for our main guys. Six opposes the Traveler because they are the Lord of Every Nothing, and they hate the Guardian. Bale hates the Traveler because he's a Dredgen, obviously. And the Imperium hates the Traveler because it killed Gall. And so, with all of that, I believe we have enough to extrapolate the main goal of our villains. I think Six either wants control of the light or wants to destroy the Traveler. Destroying the Traveler does seem more likely since the Nine do want to like end their alliance on the light and the Guardians. But because and also maybe Six wants to make it a physical body for itself. For the Imperium, I think they want to hatch the Traveler. I know that sounds weird, but just let me explain. Okay, let me cook. If you remember, their main gun is the weapon that they're building is called the Cosmic Incubator. And an incubator is used to hatch eggs. Also, with the whole armor connection to Gall, maybe they believe that instead of him being vaporized, he was instead maybe absorbed into the Traveler, and that destroying or hatching the Traveler would bring him back to life. That is a very, very big stretch and more of just me. That's more of just a feeling, and then that's not based on any evidence. By the way, that is just a random guess. Okay, a random guess. They could also maybe use to sort of like take the light and bring Zero, the Nine mentioned in the Epochs and Orbits lore book, to life. But because again it said it was stillborn. Or maybe they'll use to hatch Saturn, bringing Six into the physical plane and giving it a physical body. Or tear a hole into the Ascendant plane that the Lord of Every Nothing could come out into the physical world. There's a lot of possibilities with the Lord of with the Cosmic Incubator. So I'm just listing off what I think is most likely. But it could be something else that we don't know about. We can't know for sure until the DLC releases and we see for ourselves. But again, there's a lot of holes in this theory, Again, we don't know if the Six is the Lord of Every Nothing, and, Six to me does feel a bit too convenient. And so, if Six isn't the Lord of Every Nothing, this whole thing just collapses in. It collapses in on itself. You know, it just falls. There's nothing to. There's there. It loses that one connecting thread. If the world of ever nothing is behind this, though, if it it could just be lying to Bale and saying that it is six. Six could, also maybe be reluctantly helping us because six obviously does hate us. It seems like, but yeah, it could just be using us, could helping us, and by using what happens in Renegades to sort of steer us on a path to avoid extinction. The whole Gaul connection thing is again a massive stretch. So there's like a 0% chance that'll happen. The nine are also in a sort of civil war, so maybe six will use the incubator to sort of like tip the scales in the favor of the outer orbits, since now that the orbits are even, because like the whole like outer orbits and orbit civil war thing with the nine. I don't even know I don't even know where to begin with explaining that because I barely know about that. Okay, so don't there are videos out there explaining that. Don't go to me. Do not go to me for that. The nine are extremely confusing. But back to the subject. Yeah, but yeah, there are holes in my theory. But with that closing note, that is all I have. Please like, comment, and share if you like the video. If you like the video and want to see more like this, please subscribe, and I will see you next time.